has been very much involved in women's activities in the peace movement. So she had reported it to us and has been following it in our newsletter.
And what does your newsletter cover? What types of issues are you working on in Tulsa?
We try to cover all kinds of issues dealing with peace and justice, and not only what's happening locally, but what's happening nationally and regionally, and hopefully encourage our members to lend support to what other groups are doing and not just act as an isolated group.
And how strongly involved are women in Tulsa, Oklahoma at the moment, and how much has your participation helped to increase information and desire for working on the issue?
It's interesting because until a couple days ago I hadn't really thought about, but it seems that most of the work that's being done happens to be done by women. I don't know if that's simply because more of them are able to take time during the day. More of them are home with children and take that time to spend on peace and justice issues. In terms of organizing for the bus trip to Washington, that was mostly done by women. It would be very unfair to the men who'd worked very hard to say that, but the majority of the work was women, and I hadn't even that or thought about it before. Those who are involved very, very deeply. One of the women who had followed the Army encampment had quit her job last year and went ahead and took on following peace and justice issues full time, and she is responsible for the putting out of our newsletter and that kind of thing. So I would say Oklahoma is one of the states that has not yet the Equal Rights Amendment, so there's a long way to go there. But those women who do work in Oklahoma have to work extra hard because there's so much more work to be done, and I find a real good group.
I think that traveling outside the state, coming to Washington and maybe learning about places like Seneca Falls in person can help to expand the process to increase the involvement of women.
I think it does. I think that for a lot of the women in Tulsa, though, I don't know that we really changed their minds. I think, encourage them to be leaning in that direction, but I don't really see any. I see in, there was a women's encampment in Kansas that we heard about at the last minute that a couple women did go up to, and probably the reason they went was because they had learned about the Seneca Falls Army encampment earlier, and this was the closest they could come to participating in it. And I've asked them in Kansas earlier so that next year, and they hope to do it again next year, that we'll be able to participate with them in Kansas.
What's your feeling?
Well, it's an emotional event for me. I'm excited to be here. I don't said this before when I was talking to you, but my father had come in 1963 and had allowed me to come with him, fearing peace perpetrated against the marchers. So here I have been sorry I missed the march. So for me, this is of something that, truthfully, I've been wishing for a long time. After my father returned in '63, he had said he was so sorry he hadn't taken it, just couldn't have known. So we came and we brought our children because we didn't want them to be able to say that they had missed it. So we felt very, very strongly about it. And also, we had to miss the June 12th one last summer. I could not make it to New York for the Peace March because I was still nursing the baby, and doing that in the summer in New York streets didn't quite seem like it was going to be very workable. So,
well, I'm awfully glad you made it to Washington, and maybe you'll make it to Seneca Falls too.
Well, that's something that it would be kind of neat. How long? It's going on till October?
Yeah, chances are it's going to go through the fall and maybe build some shelters that would be winterized, so it could be.
There is not, it's not it's an outside possibility. My husband's family is in Buffalo, so it's not totally a possibility, but it's not real likely. But that ever since we learned of it, it was something that we were trying to work into. If we hadn't been up to Buffalo just last summer, we might have been able to.
Well,
but thank you all for doing this, because we're glad that this is going on. It really is. This, in conjunction with what's going on throughout other, in Europe and the other women's encampments, are really beautiful experiences for everybody, good lessons for everybody.
Okay, well, thanks a lot. Enjoy the rest of your stay here.
Thanks.
Okay. Shooting? I work with a group of white feminists in New York City who feel that it's about time that women who have been talking for a long time about take some action. Many of us have been up to the women's encampment because we think what's happening up there is making the connections and is very important. But in New York, in support of college, the city system called Medgar Evers College. It's a college that grew out of the Black liberation struggle in the late 60s. Community control of their college, a struggle that believed that people truly have access to moving ahead in our societies if we have equal and quality education. And at Medgar, about 95% Black people. Women there are struggling to treatment within the CUNY system. It's treated as a Black where they're constantly. They started with 7 buildings and have been cut back to 2. And at this time, they've been fighting. They managed to get rid of. He ran the place like a plantation, fighting for the rights of women and for the rights of just internal policy, whatever he, to move ahead. So, after the body took over the campus for 3 months and is the longest sit-in in the history of the country. And after 3 months, the CUNY Board of Trustees, and he had to step down. Right after that, they a daycare program in the president's office, because this was the best office in the had carpeting and a shower and a stove and a refrigerator, and they started a daycare program, and they managed to get funding from HeRSToRy. So anyway, and so constantly what they're doing is putting the needs of women and Black people first. But the reason I wanted to make the statement here is because right now, while Reagan is increasing his military budget, the city university system has cut back Medgar Evers by $500,000. And they had just started something called the Center for Women at the college, which is the women's center in the country. This funding for this has been cut. So that we think of education first, not bombs. Thank you. Come. We're very proud of it. It says, fight racism in education, Women's Committee in support of Medgar Evers College, which is part of the CUNY system in New York, towards an anti-racist feminism, which I believe is the forefront of a new kind of movement, which is very, very important in this country. What? I'm Andrea Doremus, and I'm here with 5 other women. And I've been living up at the women this summer, and as soon as the encampment finishes sometime in October, whenever it finishes, I'm coming back to continue the work at Medgar Evers in support of our black sisters. Thank you.
As to what the difference was between 63 and now, is that what you want to really me to talk about? Okay. Well, the whole approach was different in 63. It was something new. This is the first time that a mass movement took place in Washington, to our knowledge. There had been many before that. And certainly one that involved so many black people. And that was for the Civil Rights Act and for job equality. And there was a hope for the future, and there was also trepidations of a big group like that getting together, and if there would be violence on the part of some people. But when once we were in Washington, although a lot of us people didn't have those trepidations, the atmosphere was one of such tranquility and such friendship and such brotherhood and sisterhood, and that it was just a beautiful thing to see and feel. And the thing that really brought it to a head was Martin Luther King's speech, which gave us all, a sort of new level of feeling and uplifted our spirits, so to speak. And after that, we got some gains, the Civil Rights Act and the Equal Opportunity Act and stuff like that. But now this march is to try to keep what is little left of what we had gained, so that there is a feeling of imminence, there's a disturbance, there is insecurity, and there is a fear of the nuclear war as well as survival from not having any kind of jobs. So it has a different kind of reality about it than the other, of having to do something, imminently.
And did you all come together in 63?
Yes.
You all came together?
We were on the Freedom Train that left Chicago, and we came together this time on the bus.
How is it different this time around?
It's more exciting in a way because it isn't a single issue like it was primarily around the civil rights. This wonderful coalition that's being formed now around jobs, peace, and freedom is more engulfing and will draw more people into activity than those who were interested in the civil rights movement per se. And I think it will lay the basis for the development of new political alignments for the defeat of Reaganomics in 1984.
When I was a child,
Very much.
growing up on the
Do you
lighter
have anything to add?
Well, they've pretty much said the way I feel too. This, of course, is more than twice as large as the first one. The other one had a feeling, everybody seemed to have a feeling of elation that this was the beginning of the end of racism as we knew it then. We have a long, long way to go, but that was a fantastic beginning, and there was this wonderful feeling. I think the people who are here now still have great hope. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here, that we can correct a lot of wrongs.
Thank you very much. I agree with you.
Of this part of the universe. Thank you. Christopher Columbus was a colonial pirate who opened our sacred lands and people to exploitation and plunder. Discovered America? How untrue. Christopher Columbus was hopelessly lost, floundering in the high seas, and was in fact discovered by the original inhabitants of the sacred land. Out of love and compassion, we nursed him and his sickly crew back to health, and to thank us, they started the longest war against the indigenous people of the sacred land. George Washington was not the father of our country. He was the father of colonialism, slavery, corporate exploitation, and war against our sacred lands and people. He started the longest war, which was intensified by Andrew Jackson, I should say, and his predecessor, Ronald Reagan, the worst president since Jackson, is continuing that war against the indigenous people here as well in Central and South America. While James Watt blames it on socialism, the fact is, if there are failures in the reservation system, it is because through the Department of Interior's conspiracy with the corporations to continue exploiting our sacred lands and resources while they keep us locked into chronic cycles of poverty. While the federal government the treaty only delivers about 10% what is necessary to clear the causes of poverty, we see 10 times that amount, or $10 billion, going to Israel for armament and foreign aid, and to other despotic and repressive regimes who continue to repress the people of Guatemala and El Salvador. Israel serves as a proxy against the Indian people of Guatemala, who are the principal victims of this war. The U.S. Supreme Court continues its war against Indian people in the past 10 years. During the Nuremberg war crimes trial, Justice Robert Jackson, the chief American prosecutor, said that if violations of acts and treaties are crimes, they are crimes whether the United States does that or whether Germany does that. We are not prepared.
Who still have a dream. We think the nation can still keep its promise. We ask no special favor. We ask no special privilege. And by the grace of God, we will accept no special denial, no special penalty, and no special discrimination. Yes, we are they. We are they who, in spite of our travail and trials, have nonetheless seen our blood stain the earth crimson when our nation needed us. We are they whose brain, brawn, and blood helped forge out a unique place in the family of nations for America. We are they who toted that bar and lifted that veil, and drunk or not, we landed in jail. We are they who turned the jail into a chamber house for the manufacture of new hopes and new dreams and new legislation and new determination to walk that walk of freedom down liberty path. We are they who come today to say that we denounce an administration whose policies. We are they who challenge our government to be an ally in the pursuit of our constitutional rights rather than our enemy. We are they who oppose bellicose and interventionist foreign policies.
Yeah. I thought to take off my hat.
As an official personality.
Okay.
In the world community.
Okay, hi.
These simple directives seem to me to be.
You both said that you work at Bloomingdale's in New York City and that you don't often come to demonstrations, but that you took the time out to come here today. And I just wanted to ask you why you came today.
Well, I came today, as I said before. It's an experience for me, and I was curious. And because it's a black person that they're representing today, I just came for curiosity to see how the white would turn out and to see how, they make peace and stuff like that. And I'm just happy to see, how they're doing fine, making peace, and we're all together as people and not color.
Making the links between the issues?
Right.
Because when you said making peace, I was wondering what...
Yeah, I mean, not like the whites are one place and the black are another place. We all together as people and not race.
And I was wondering, now that you're here, how do you feel about the march?
Well, I feel tired, but I feel great. I like the feeling of unity that I feel here. To me, it's very, very nice.
Would you say it's something different than what you usually feel in life, or?
Well, coming from New York.
Misrepresented.
people can get a little rough there at times. Travel on the subway every day, it's not the greatest thing on earth. So here, I just love the feeling of unity that I feel here.
What do you think accounts for this feeling that makes it different than usual? Can you imagine what it is?
Today we are here again.
Well, I think it's probably the spirit of Martin Luther King. Every time I hear the speech that he gave 20 years ago, I get chills up and down my spine. And I'm sure there are thousands of other people that feel the same way. Every time I hear it, it's a thrill for me. It really is. And I think that's one of the reasons why lots of other people came here, because they have that same feeling.
Turn up the guitar, please.
Do you think that the dream still lives?
Yes. Yes, it does.
Do you think there's any hope that we can fulfill this dream in our lifetimes?
I hope so.
To me, it would be, it's going to be fulfilled, but it's going to take a while, and I'm just still praying and hoping that it will come true. I believe in that.
How do you think we're going to be able to do it?
Well, have these things all the time, more often, to make people, I don't know. There's no other way you can do it except for, get-togethers like this, or having a picnics or anything like that with the public, something like that.
Where are you from originally?
I'm from Antigua.
How long have you been living in this country?
5.5 years.
How do you feel about this country versus Antigua?
Well, Antigua is a lot of peace. The white folks, the black folks, we're all people. Here, to tell you the truth, some of the white folks, no offense, treat the black folks as if we're something else different, But I just try to ignore it. But it doesn't really bother me.
Can you think of any examples, like in your daily life, how that's happened maybe recently?
Well, once I was living in Florida, and to tell the truth, I was living with, in a white community. I was living with a white couple. And every time I go out with them, the black folks would look at me as if they want to kill me. Then one day, one lady came up to me and said, where do you live? Are you new? I said, yeah, I don't live around here. I'm just here looking around. She said, who do you live with? And I told her, and she said, if you know what's over your head, you better go back to where you come from. And because of what she told me and the way they looked at me, believe me, I came back to New York. I left Florida just because of that, because I was scared. I don't like people, separating from each other, fighting against each other like that. And I feel better in New York, and I even feel better about this.
We are going to stick up for what we do.